Okay, so this is basically your first introduction video to the Pygame module that you can import, and it can help you make user interfaces. There's quite a lot to learn. The first thing I'm going to do is just show you what this creates. So this is really basic, and it's just give it a sec to load. The computer's quite slow. But this is really basic, and it's just going to create fundamentally an empty window. Okay, so over the next few videos I'll show you how you can do loads of things. In this video, buttons, animations, all that sort of stuff, but all this is this basic window. This is the most important video of all the ones I'm going to make, and this is talking you through the code that is basically going to form the template for everything that you do in Pygame. So starting off at the top, you need to import Pygame. Okay, any classes, if you're doing object-oriented programming, should then come in. It's just called programming practice. Put your classes at the top along with any sort of constants, global variables, that sort of stuff. You need to define some colours. Okay, colours are made up of RGB values from 0 to 255. You should probably know that by now if you're doing this, but so all zeros is black, if you set all 3 to 255 it's white, and then you can have everything in between. So if you wanted to say, I'm going to get this wrong, I'm not very good with colours, but if say you do red and green together, so 255, 255, 0, that's whatever red and green makes when you put it together, like yellow, something like that, or is that red and blue? I ain't got a clue, but you get the idea. Right, when you've done that, you need to start the Pygame engine. So you initialize it with that line of code that you'll always have in your Pygame documents. Then we need to open a window. Okay, so I've set my window size, pixels across by pixels down, and then you make a screen. Okay, so you do pygame.display.setMode, and then we're going to take in that tuple as the size. Then you can give it a caption, so that's the bit that displays at the top, to give the window a name basically. Right, and then this is the really important stuff. So that's all kind of fundamentals up here that you'll change you might change around and play around with. These bits should never really change. Okay, so there's lots of ways you can do it. The way I do it, have a boolean flag called done and set it to false. Have a clock variable that takes pygame.time.clock. I'll explain how we use that in a bit, but it's basically to manage how fast we're going to go for our loop and update our screen, because if you do it too fast it will flicker and you might not like that, and too slow it's going to look quite buggy. So you've got to get that right. And then here we have our main program loop. So while not done, so done is obviously set to false, and while that is false, basically we want to continually loop through this, and this will do basically become our window, do any bit of code that we want to go on the screen we're going to put in here, and this will continually update, animate, detect button presses, all that sort of stuff. So we've then got a main loop inside it. This is known as an event loop. Okay, so this says for event in pygame.event.get. So what that means is every time the user does something, like presses a button, clicks on the mouse, etc., it's gonna get it and put it into this pygame.event. So pygame.event, if you imagine that being like a list of events that's happened, if you do .get, that's gonna get something from that list. Alright, and it will keep going until the list is empty, hence the for loop. So for event in, and then that list. So then we can check the event type. So the only one we're going to do in is a basic, and I'll go through this in more detail in future videos when we use this event loop a little bit more, but we need to say if the event type is equal to pygame.quit, which is basically if the user clicks the close button at the top of the window. Then we're going to change the boolean flag to true, which was false, which means this loop will no longer execute, so when it gets to the bottom it won't loop again. Okay, so that bit of code there is basically a way of, if the user clicks the close button, to quit. Okay, then we have any sort of game logic, or I say game, it doesn't have to be a game, but you get what I mean. Any sort of logic, any calculations that usually come next. You can move these round, but it's good practice to put these next. Then you're going to draw things to the screen. What you do is, the way I do it is you clear the screen first. So you clear it, fill it completely with white, and then you'll draw the items again. If you put this at the end, make sure this is the first thing, because if you draw your items and then fill it with white, it will go over all your items. So essentially when you see things animating, there might be a circle here, and then if it animates, say, to here, what will actually happen is it will draw it here, then on the next loop it will clear the screen to white and draw it again here, and then it might clear the screen to white and draw it again here. So you'll clear the screen to white. Pygame.display.flip basically means update the screen visually so the user can see it, and then this bit uses that clock. So we can limit, we can do clock.tick and then put 60 in the parentheses. That will limit it to 60 frames per second. So that means this loop will execute 60 times a second, which is about right visually. You can, like I say, you can play around with that, but that works quite well. And then finally, when the loop ends, quit. Okay, so remember, if the user clicks the X button in the top of the window, we change that Boolean flag there to false, to true, so it breaks out of this loop. Then it will run that and quit Pygame. Okay, I know that's quite a lot to take in. It will make more sense when we start using these in future videos, but that is the basics of a Pygame document, a Pygame piece of code. I will give you access to this. I'm going to make a little folder or something. There'll be some way of you accessing a load of the snippets that I've used of code, so you don't need to just copy it out. However, I would advise you to use this structure on anything you're doing in Pygame, so I think it will help you learn it much better if you know where to place different things.